If you are on the highways or byways heading towards Washington, D.C. for the Restoring Honor Rally, which, by the way, can be heard right here on Sirius XM Patriot tomorrow morning beginning at 10 a.m., we would love to hear from you. Right now, though, we want to hear from Darren La Sorte, NRA-ILA's Manager of Hunting Policy. Darren, good evening.
Tim, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, and it is a good evening.
It is.
Kind of an unexpectedly good evening. I did not anticipate seeing the EPA come out this afternoon and deny this petition that called for a ban on lead ammunition. Were you kind of surprised to see this?
Well, let's say...
Pleasantly surprised?
Well, definitely pleasantly surprised. If it were a different administration, we wouldn't be surprised at all because the law is very clear that they cannot ban lead ammunition pursuant to the act, the Chemical Substances Control Act that they tried to ban lead ammunition under. There's a clear provision in the law that says that shells and cartridges are exempt from that act. So we wouldn't be surprised under another administration. Maybe under this administration we're surprised, but regardless, really at the end of the day today, as we were about to put another alert out to our members to have public comments submitted to the EPA to protest against this, we got the notice from the EPA that they said, as we've said all along, that they simply don't have jurisdiction over ammunition and cannot ban lead ammunition, even if they might want to.
Yeah, and I guess my biggest question is, why didn't they tell us this instead of opening up the public comment period?
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer to it. But what I can tell you, what I think I can tell you is that our members and gun owners around the country, hunters around the country, started calling Lisa Jackson Lee and putting some pressure on her office. And I think I would have to believe that the administration said, you know what, we've made a lot of people in this country angry over the last couple of years. We really don't need to stir the hornet's nest when it comes to gun owners. So let's just nip this in the bud, stop it now, and we'll go on and do some other business. I think that's what happened.
I have a feeling that you're right. I mean, because this issue really did take off. I mean, the NRA let people know about this. NSSF let people know about this. Earlier this afternoon, I'm looking on Drudge, and Drudge has a story that's talking about the NRA's opposition to this. Weekly Standard had come out with something. U.S. News and World Report had written a story about this. I think even Slate, which is not a publication that is usually friendly to gun owners, had written about this. I mean, this issue really took off. And I'm guessing the NRA or the EPA was getting inundated, as you say, with public comments saying heck no to this petition.
Yeah, and that's definitely it. And what's interesting is this all started when the Center for Biological Diversity issued a release on July 14th. And this is what they were saying in the release. They said that they were going to launch a once-in-a-lifetime campaign to ban all lead bullets everywhere in the United States. And they were attacking us throughout the release, going on to say, well, in one place they say, please donate generously today to get the lead out campaign going, and then finally say that the NRA will spend $100 for every dollar we spend. It will pull out all the stops against us. What they do understand, clearly this was just a gratuitous funding campaign on their part, but what they didn't understand is that our power comes from our members. Not our money. Of course, we need money to operate, but our true power comes from our members. Those members did absolutely activate, and they did hit the EPA hard, and the EPA saw what was coming. It was nothing but trouble, and they knew the letter of the law said they didn't have jurisdiction over ammunition, that they couldn't ban it even if they wanted to. So just step aside, let's clear the slate, and step away from this issue. Now, one thing that does need to be considered by all the sportsmen out there in particular, all the fishermen, is that still lead sinkers are on the chopping block potentially. What they said is because there are two pieces in the CBD's petition. One was lead ammunition. Of course, that was the big one from our perspective. But the other one is lead sinkers for fishing. And that one is still being considered. So public comments are still being made on that. The alert that ILA sent out today, this evening, did give the contact information so that the fishermen out there and sportsmen out there can go ahead and still submit public comments on the lead sinker provision of the petition.
Yeah, and you know that the ammunition component of this petition was really the heart and soul of this. I'm looking here at the press release from the Center for Biological Diversity. They barely mention the fact that the potential ban on lead sinkers is still out there. In fact, there's not even a quote referencing it. There's just like one line in their press release. Now it's, I guess, standard boilerplate language. Adam Keats, senior counsel for the Center for Biological Diversity, says, a quote, "We had hoped that the EPA would take their responsibilities seriously, but we remain committed to making sure toxic lead is removed from the environment, and we'll redouble our efforts to see that through." I guess there is no appeals process here, Darren, but I can't imagine that Center for Biological Diversity is going to go away quietly.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, they're going to continue to fundraise, certainly, on this, and they're going to continue to go to the courts, the state agencies, like they've been doing in Arizona and Utah and California, trying to ban lead. So they'll continue with their campaign. There's no doubt about it, and that's why we certainly can't rest and let down our guard. The one big positive that comes from this, actually, in 2008, right after Obama was elected, one of the things I said, I wrote an article in American Hunter magazine that talked about some of the concerns that gun owners and hunters should have with the new administration. One of them was a potential lead ammunition ban through the EPA. So we felt that the petition was coming, that someone would do it. What's nice about this is now we have a letter, we have a record where the EPA has said we do not have jurisdiction over ammunition. That's a great thing because that's going to last for a long, long time. That precedent has been set. So we can't imagine that 20 years from now that another petition will be filed and the EPA will then say, oh, you know what, we were wrong. We do have jurisdiction. So there's a nice defense blanket that's been created for the EPA from that perspective, but from every state legislature, every game and fish commission in the state, the CBD is still going to be out there saying that we need to ban lead. What's interesting is they use the eagle as their primary example, and eagle populations are, no pun intended, soaring. 724% increase, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says, of nesting pairs from 1981 to 2006. It's a great success story that, of course, people who buy ammunition and guns have paid for through their Pittman-Robertson excise tax monies.
Absolutely. And again, you know, it's not like the environmentalists are contributing a lot of, tax dollars to supporting the environment or conserving the environment. But they never want to bring that up, Darren.
No, they don't. I mean, just through ammunition purchases alone, as NSSF has reported, $171 million toward conservation in this country. You're absolutely right that gun owners, hunters, specifically through the fees they pay for licenses and tags, pay much more for conservation than any environmentalist group or all of the environmentalist groups together will ever pay. So it's interesting that they were attacking the people, and especially going back to the eagle. The eagle was just delisted from the endangered species list about 2 years ago. They're attacking the very people who pay for the conservation that they say, these groups say they support. So very, very interesting and hypocritical stuff. And, you know, the science just isn't there to say that lead is a danger to wildlife populations or humans. And the CBD was arguing both points. And what's interesting is by their name, you'd think that they would be science-based. They clearly are not. There might be junk science-based, but they're not based in any sound science that has solid peer review.
All right. Hey, Darren, thank you again, sir, for coming on the program. Congratulations again, and thanks for all the hard work that NRA-ILA put in on the EPA lead ban petition.
Well, thanks a lot, Cam, and thanks to our members for getting involved.